Okay, welcome to the European, Australian, Tel Aviv healing group, international galactic group. We even have timeline shifters with us today. Welcome, Jill. I'm not going to tell you about that. You need to be on the group to hear these fascinating stories that we're having. So we're moving on to the exercise now. This is about looking into who we are, who we're not, and it's related to, what we get upset about and need not. Who are we really? And to locate that space, which is very peaceful, and it's also the heart of forgiveness. So that's what we'll do today, and then have our sharing from it. So if you'd like to get comfortable, and just close your eyes. Just take a few gentle but deep breaths. And with the next breath, just breathe in and tense your legs. And then just breathe out and relax the muscles. And then breathe in and gently tense the muscles of the stomach. And let go. Breathe into the arms. Tense the arms and make fists of the hands. And release. Breathe in and squeeze your shoulder blades together. And let go. If your neck and head are a bit tense, you can rotate your head a bit. Okay, let's send out a prayer to all those beautiful guides, high frequency beings that surround us, and invite them in to join you in this exercise. You can imagine there's a light shining down upon you, or a hand you hold. And now become aware of your body. You can feel it on the chair or the couch. There may be some pains around or tensions. Just accept them all and become aware. And then say to yourself, I have a body, but I'm not my body. I have a body, but I'm not my body. My body may find itself in different conditions of health or sickness. These bodily conditions constantly change and thus cannot be my true self. Again, repeat, I have a body, but I'm not my body. Just take 2 or 3 breaths. Now become aware of any emotions you're experiencing. They can be happy, sad, anything. Then say to yourself, I have emotions, but I'm not my emotions. If I can watch my emotions, I can't be them. These emotions constantly change, and thus cannot be my true self, which is unchanging. Say again, I have emotions, but I'm not my emotions. Now take another 2 or 3 deep breaths. Now become aware of any desires you're experiencing. And say to yourself, I have desires, but I'm not my desires. These desires are like my emotions and bodily sensations. They constantly change and thus cannot be my true self. If I can watch my desires, I can't be my desires. Take another 3 deep breaths. Now become aware of any thoughts you're experiencing. Just allow them to be. Say to yourself, I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. If I can watch my thoughts, then I can't be my thoughts. Become of the gaps between thoughts. Are you still there when there's gaps and no thought? These thoughts constantly change and thus cannot be my true self. Again, say, I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. Take another 2 or 3 deep breaths. And then repeat again, I have a body, but I'm not my body. I have emotions, but I'm not my emotions. I have desires, but I'm not my desires. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. Say to yourself, I'm the observer of all these. I am that presence of awareness that witnesses all of these, but is unaffected by them. I am that presence of awareness that witnesses all of these, but is unaffected by them. Awareness is my true nature, who I am. I am a center of pure consciousness. I now surrender all that I thought I was. I am not a body. I am free, for I'm still as God created me. When you feel ready, just bring yourself back to the room and open your eyes. Good. So now is the time for our sharing. 5 minutes each way. One talks, one listens. Somebody keeps time, and then at 10 minutes, you'll have the closing signal. Stay in the room, and then you'll come back. So I'll open the rooms now.
Iris had to go and do her thing.
Iris had, yeah, she's at work, isn't she?
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Yeah. Well, the two dog ladies got together.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it
It
was
was
really good.
random, but you ended up together. That was great.
Yeah, it was lovely. And yeah, it worked out really well.
Oh, it's a lovely story, Joe. Dogs were so important to me. It saved my childhood. When I was 6, I was a lonely kid, didn't have any friends, and they got me a dog from Battersea Dogs Home. It was
Oh.
10 and sixpence or something to get the dog. Was there half a dollar? I took it home, and we were just so together, you know. And I told you about, didn't I? I got a message from Trixie, from an animal communicator.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was no longer a dog. It's a shapeshifter, and we're together on another realm all the time. But here we seem to be separate. You know, all these multi-dimensional beings and places that we are.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it was, I think, Jesus or Nanda said that animals are sent to you from your oversoul. They're
Yeah.
part of you when life is perhaps difficult and you need support.
Yeah.
Then they come in as an animal.
Well, Kitty was just, just I couldn't believe how much I loved her. But apparently she's a higher part of myself, and coming back as a dog is going to she's going to teach me other things. And in actual fact, the pet psychic said she's coming back because she's got more to teach you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Jesus said the other day that with the ascension, the animals are ahead of you. They're so open to it, they
Yeah.
move with it. And he said, hang out with animals. They can be your teachers at this time as well, because their hearts are so open and they can teach you so much. Great.
Like egos wouldn't like that, would it?
What? Peasant animals? Anyone want to share anything with the group before we finish? We have time.
Yeah, I was just saying it reminds me of Muji's The Invitation. Muji, the Jamaican guy, talks you, if you're not that, where are you? But I really liked how you addressed the individual parts, in particular emotions. I found it really easy to just let them go when it was individually addressed, and then, rather than, oh, well, I know I'm not any of that, but when you address it individually like that, it was really useful to easy to let them go.
That's good. One thing I sometimes say is, which one was the hardest to go? I know when I first did this exercise, it was thoughts. You mean I'm not my thoughts? And other people's, it's their emotions, their heart feelings. That's me. I had no problem with that. It was the thoughts. Anyone else?
The only thing I had a problem with, and I think it's a clear indication of the desperation of my ego, was that I felt guilty. That was, the emotion was guilt. It was because I told you that the recording wasn't on.
Oh.
Now, how ridiculous is that?
Oh, you're forgiven, Joe.
Thank you so much. But do I forgive myself?
Oh, that's the biggie. That's the biggie. Yeah.
But how ridiculous is it? The grasping of the ego. That's all it could come up with.
I always got a feeling about you as a good sign that the ego's desperate. It's about to die, and it's going to try any stupid thing to keep you going. So it could be a very good sign, Look,
yeah, well, and that the truth is, Michael, I did think, is that all you've got? but on saying that, I still felt this incredible amount of guilt for what, because I thought it was none of your business. Why did you just let him get on with it? Like.
It's a bit of a setup, isn't it? Perhaps.
Yeah.
And the other thing that comes when I'm with you is that you could be very close to the light, and that frightens the pants off everyone. So you actually enlist your ego to help you I want to hang on a bit more in separation, you know. Let's work together on this.
That's a very wise thing you just said. That's probably, yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. Can I just add to that? Because I talked to Lena, and as we were doing the exercise, it's like you peel an onion, or I feel like I can remove thoughts, the emotions, and then I feel like I'm left in a place that's just vast, light, enormous, and then I start to think again, can I rest here? I'm scared of the grandness of that place.
Yeah.
Like, how do you hang around in that place?
Mm.
How do you relax? Can I sleep? Like, lately I felt so much that my body needed to relax and sleep. And can I sleep here? How can I calm myself? You know, it's so expansive. And then I start to get worried. I guess the ego comes in, like you said, Jill. Then the ego comes in and make like, how are we supposed to be in this place? You know.
Mm. Yeah, and a lot of the people who've ended up in that place, like Adyashanti, you know, they have some very interesting descriptions, because the ego will start, well, we can't function here, you know, which means you can't function without the ego. The ego says, the ego doesn't admit that we never could function with the ego. It's now saying you can't function without me, you know. Without thought, how are you going to function? And as you said, actually, his short-term memory was just terrible when he had these sort of wake-ups, you know. But then he found he didn't really need it, because in each moment he seemed to know what to say or to do. Didn't know how he knew it. He just knew it. He could function well. And another woman I studied, she had a deep awakening like this, but she was a single mum of 4 kids, you know, and she'd get them all off to school and off they go. And then she'd sort of go and sit on the couch with no thought. And it was one of the stages, because you've got to have the heart as well. But she had this sort of no thought. But then she knew at some point that the boys were coming back, and she started to get the food out and make the dinner and welcome them and feed them. And they go to bed, and then she sort of relapsed into this no thought state, or very few thoughts, you know. But she said, I was functioning better than before. So it seems, but the mind doesn't want to let go, and it wants to be in there, and it's going to create fear that you can't exist like this. There's no way you can exist like this. But as I just said, my mind now only comes in as a toolbox mind. I got to fix the car, work out what's wrong with the computer, and the mind cuts in and does a better job than before. And then when it's not needed, it sort of switches off, and there's a lot of quiet there. And I was talking years ago to a famous teacher whose name's just got out of my head. I'll come back in a moment. He says, after I do this talk, Michael, I go back to my room, and it's 2 hours before dinner, Eckhart Tolle, 2 hours before dinner. And most of the time I sit there with no thought. So their action comes from being, not from thinking.
I notice how the thoughts, since I'm practicing body awareness, how the thoughts create different, you know, stiffness, different situations in the body all the time.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see. But then as I also said to Lena, I can feel it, and that's interesting. And then I feel like I have a period of little energy, or I feel sick, and then I get really, really disappointed because I feel like, I'm still not well, and I measure my life or my life quality or efforts within that frame of wellness, extra energy, health. And then I feel really sad that I haven't made it. You know, I guess that's the ego coming in and measures things. But then I feel really like, you know, okay, I'm not the body, but I'm still in the body. I have to deal with the body every day.
What came to me as you were speaking was that out of that exercise, it felt like the most important thing was not so much watching the body and its pains and breaking down, but watching thoughts' response to that. And then you're believing the thoughts that are saying, I'm a failure, I should be better by now. And then they're taken as real. You're saying the body's not real, but you're saying the thoughts are real. That's the biggie. Oh, look, here they come again. They're saying I'm a failure. That was yesterday, and they're back again. What's new? And they lose their power. So you can still be sick, but not suffering. There's the sickness of the body, and the suffering is psychological. So the thoughts produce psychological suffering. But if you watch them, the suffering stops. You still may have a pain in the body, but you're no longer suffering.
But where are the thoughts coming from?
Yes, well, what we're told is they're not coming from you, which sounds a bit crazy. We tap into these thoughts, and we also draw to us, we're told, similar thoughts. So it gets better or worse according to how you're thinking. But it says you think, you make these thoughts. And so I am the maker of my thoughts. But we're told by all these teachers, you don't make them. They float in and out, and it's up to you if you pay attention to them. It's like smells going past the nose, you know, that you get the sensation, but they're not my smells. But you say, oh, they're my thoughts. And they say, no, you can't even work out what you could be thinking in 10 seconds. They just come and go, and they come according to your vibration. And your vibration is drawing these thoughts. And as you forgive and change the vibration, the thoughts can't really come anymore. So, yeah, sounds crazy, isn't it? That we're not making our thoughts.
TV and tele.
What?
I'm saying that they say, oh, sorry. I say I know Bruce Lipton says we're like TV antennas, and we're just receiving the signals depending on what we're tuning into. Yeah,
where our vibration is. And if we're into being hard on ourselves, we'll have hard on ourselves thoughts coming in. There's millions of those going around, lack of self-worth. You can choose plenty of those at any time, but we're still choosing them. We're not actually creating them. That's what they tell us.
Before we go, I was wondering, this is probably too big a question to answer now, and that's okay. We can do it another time, but I just want to put it out there for people to maybe think about it, is given what we've just gone through in that exercise and how we feel about ourselves and the Course in Miracles and what we've learned, I can't grasp it myself, is why the ego, forget the ego for a minute, but why are we so afraid about going back to God? Because I think about it and I don't feel afraid, but clearly my ego is terrified. And otherwise we wouldn't be here. And I just would like to put that out there to everybody. And I don't expect it to be answered now because it's huge, isn't it? A huge question. But I would love all to think about it.
I can give you the Course in Miracles answer, if that's of any help. The Course gives 4 major fears. It's the top 2 that are interesting. Number 2 is the fear of God. we feel he's very angry that we left home, broke up heaven, knocked him off his throne, took power, and moved into separation. And intellectually, that sounds ridiculous. But the Course says, you know, at some level, you have that fear. And that's why you fear war and you fear starvation. It's not really those you fear, it's God's punishment for leaving heaven. But he said that's only number 2 fear. Number 1 fear, your greatest fear, is you fear the love of God. Because there's an old phrase in the Bible, see God and die. It says you cannot stand in front of the love of God and keep your ego. The ego dissolves. So our greatest fear is that total awakening to we're totally loved, we're totally sinless, and whoops, that's the end of separation, individuality, specialness. I'm a woman, I'm a teacher, I'm good, I'm bad. Poof, we're back to unity. And we decided to leave unity. So that's the Course in Miracles.
It's just hard to get that feeling of fear, isn't it? In now, I don't feel afraid. So
Yeah.
if I could feel it, I would understand that explanation. I mean, I do know that explanation, but why can't I feel fear?
Well, any fear, the Course says, is not what you think it is. You've run out of money, your house is burnt down, or it's burning down. It says, no, it still goes back to these basic fears, but it's so locked away in your unconscious, you ascribe something to it, like poverty. But it is still, fear is fear. It's this fear. But most of us are a long way away from that realization. So we have to deal with the fear and ask the Holy Spirit and work with it. But the last thing is final surrender into the unknown. And they often say, you better hold Jesus's hand at that moment because you're about to disappear who you think you are. And it's a leap. And some people, they say, back away at that moment. They're one step away from the threshold, but it's just, no, it's too much. It's like, it is death. That's the moment of death and separation of the ego. And that frightens the life out of anyone.
Maybe that's why you're having panic attacks.
Yes, that's one of the causes of panic attacks.
Mm.
I see that when I do workshops and people come up, you know, and because they're moving sometimes in the right direction and it just scares the life out of them. What the guidance I got once, what was it? It says Michael, your ego is terrified because it knows it's dying. But it's going to hang on as long as it can. I spent millions of years building up this personality with all my timelines and other things, you know. I mean, surely I just can't go, you know. Anyway, that's my bit. So, the old time's cracking on tonight. Must be having a good time here. Any last shares before we tune out? It's been lovely being with you all. I love all the sharings. It's been more of that than the exercises. So that's it for this morning and tonight, is it? Well, lovely being with you. It's just what a wonderful group this is. It's just amazing. Just amazing. Very blessed. We must have drawn each other together with like vibrations, like thoughts. Okay, friends, if there's nothing more, is it time to wave goodbye? Okay.
Lovely to see you all.
Yes, wonderful to see you.
Yeah, lovely to share.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye, guys. See you later.
See you
Yeah,
later.
see you.